Assalamu alaikum students. I hope all of you are fine and doing great. Uh, since you are watching this lecture, I would suppose that you're pretty serious about your CSS exams, especially about your English essay paper. But in this lecture, I won't be discussing any specific topic or specific topic area of our CSS English essay. Okay, today I would just be discussing about the course outline. Okay, I will be discussing at a very cursory level. Okay, at a very cursory level the outline of our course, that is what we will be covering in this English essay lecture series. Okay, so without further ado, let's move on. Okay, so areas to be covered in this lecture series. First of all, the first lecture will our first lecture will be about the syllabus of CSSSC. Since many students are confused as to what is the syllabus of CSSSC, because when they visit the FPSC site, they find that all the subjects, be they be optional or compulsory, they have specific syllabus. But when it comes to CSS, only a couple of lines are written. So students often get confused that what is the syllabus of CSS essay. Okay, so the first area of concern which we are going to address in our lecture series is whether there is a syllabus for CSS, and if yes, then what is that syllabus? Okay, what is that syllabus? Because this is an area where students often get confused. Okay, they don't know where to start writing a CSS essay. Okay, so this is the first topic which we will be covering. Second, we will be covering the basic structure of CSS English. Yes, remember, basic structure. So this lecture would be about the very fundamental and basic structure of CSS essay. I mean, what is the structure? I mean, you can't just pick up a piece of paper and start writing whatever comes to your mind. No, this is not how CSS essay is written. CSS essay has a particular format to it. It has a particular structure to it. So we have to be very, very familiar with that, and we have to write CSS essay while keeping in mind that basic structure. So one of our lectures will be dedicated to that topic area, that is what is the basic structure of English essay in CSS. Okay, moving on. Another important area, how to formulate an outline. This is also once again a very, very important area, and in this area students make a lot of mistakes. They write the outline of their CSS essay in a variety of manners. Some students would use 1 2 3, some students would use ABC. They would use variety of things, but they don't know that in CSS essay there is a formal outline methodology. Okay, and this is recommended by FPSC examiners. So we will be discussing that outline methodology in detail in a lecture. Okay, and in moving on, I'm just glazing over what we will be covering in this CSS lecture series. I'm not going into the details of what each of these topics, how we will examine each of these topics in our lectures. I'm just giving you a brief or cursory overview that what will be covered in this essay, what to expect from this CSS lecture series. Okay, English essay lecture series. And then we will be discussing the introductory paragraph of our essay. In a separate lecture, we will be discussing that how to write and how to structure an introductory paragraph. Remember, an introductory paragraph is different from body paragraphs, and it is different from concluding paragraph. So we will be discussing what is that structure of introductory paragraph. Okay, particularly with specific emphasis on thesis statement. And what is thesis statement? student get confused, okay, that what actually is the thesis statement in an essay. And they hear a lot when it comes to css essay that, okay, in a css essay thesis statement is very important, where we should be placing the thesis statement, where should we be writing the thesis statement, is it one sentence or is it more than one sentence. So there are a lot of questions and myths about thesis statement in the student's mind. So that will be covered in detail in this lecture, which is dedicated to the first paragraph of CSS essay, which is the introductory paragraph. Then, when we have discussed the introductory paragraph and the outline, okay, this outline and the introductory paragraph, then we will be discussing the marking scheme used by the FPSC examiner. Why I am placing this lecture not here at the first, because examiner is marking your paper in a very methodical manner. He has a marking scheme which he uses when he grades your paper, and in that marking scheme he analyzes your outline, he analyzes your introductory paragraph, and then if he is you can say that satisfied with these two, he moves on to read the rest of your essay. But if the examiner, you know, considers that no, the outline is not satisfactory, the intro is not satisfactory, then he won't be passing you. But there are various permutations and combinations that, okay, if outline is good and intro is not good, what will be the examiner be doing? If intro is good but outline is not up to the mark, what will the examiner, will he pass you or not? So these are the various combinations which the examiner uses, the marking scheme which he uses. So I will be discussing the marking scheme of the FPSC examiner. Remember, this is from FPSC examiner. Only after we have discussed how to structure an outline and how to write an introductory paragraph. Okay, so moving on, areas to be covered or that will be covered in this lecture series. So after the introductory paragraph come the body of the essay. Okay, and the body of the essay, it roughly consists of 15 body paragraphs. So once again, the structure of a body paragraph is different from an introductory paragraph. And what is that structure? We will effectively be discussing that in a separate lecture that is dedicated to how to write a body paragraph. So over there I will be, giving various examples of different body paragraphs, so that you can clearly get a picture that what is a body paragraph and how it is different from introductory paragraph and concluding paragraph. Then we will be discussing the anatomy and structure of concluding paragraph. Okay, that how is concluding paragraph different from introductory and body paragraphs. So I have a separate lecture dedicated to it. Then we will be discussing as to how to write an argumentative or persuasive essay. There is a slight difference between the both. I will be discussing it in that lecture. But the approach, with which you take on such essays is different from traditional descriptive essays. So we will be discussing how to approach such sort of essays in depth. Okay, we'll be discussing it in depth. Then the art of writing counter arguments. Okay, we'll be discussing the anatomy and structure as to how to write counter arguments in English essay, why they are useful. I'll be discussing it in depth. Okay, and all of these lectures, why I have dedicated separate lectures to these topic areas, because they are very very important in English essay, and they are make or break areas. That's why I have dedicated separate lectures to these topic areas, right? The writing counter argument is essentially an art. Okay, and many students do try to write counter argument, but they make a mess out of it. They don't know what is the methodology to writing a counter argument. But if counter arguments are written effectively, they can be very very useful, especially in argumentative essays. Then we will come to literary and proverbial essays. Okay, we will discuss how to brainstorm these essays, what could be the outline of these essays. Okay, what should be the in general structure of the outline of these essays, how we should be proceeding about these essays, and how they are different from argumentative essays and descriptive essays, and we will be solving it with an example from a past paper. Okay, Moving on, uh, we will be having a lecture at how to collect information effectively for CSS essay topics. Okay, essay topics, techniques plus sources. Once again, it is related to the first topic, that is there any syllabus to CSS essay exam? Well, some say there isn't any syllabus because it's not mentioned in the FPSC site. But there is a syllabus. And why I say that, because there are different methodologies to gather information about English essay, and we will be discussing various techniques, various sources from which you can gather that information in a very detailed lecture. Okay, so that will make things easier for you as to how to approach this topic or this paper, which is effectively a nightmare for the aspirants. Effective techniques to write a timed essay. Now I will tell you how you can manage, how you should manage, or how you can manage your time properly in the real examination setting. What you should be first, what should you do when this examination time starts? Step by step process, how you should be utilizing your time so that within 3 hours you utilize your time in a very effective manner. So various techniques I will be discussing with you in that lecture. Then I will discuss with you the techniques for brainstorming, how you generate ideas. There are various techniques to it. So I will be discussing those in a separate video lecture. That will also be very useful for you in the examination day. Okay, all of these will be very useful topic areas to you. And why I have bifurcated it into 17 different topic areas, because their importance cannot be underestimated. Okay, they require separate lectures. So that's why I have bifurcated them. Then once again, the concept of unity and coherency. When it comes to English essay, you know the first thing which you would hear about, that your essay should have unity and coherency. Okay, there should be unity and coherency in your write up, but most of the students, believe me, don't know what is the concept of unity and what is the concept of coherency. They're 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 essentially central. They're central to the concept of writing a good English essay, good CSS English essay. But students, first of all, don't know what these concepts are, and secondly, they don't know how these concepts can be materialized or actualized in their write-ups. So I would be teaching you various methods and techniques as to how to bring unity and coherency in your write-up. And believe me, if you have loads of content, you have crammed a lot of facts, figures, statistics, but if you don't know how to bring unity and coherency in your essay, examiner won't be won't be giving you 40. Okay, even if you have good English but you don't know how to bring unity and coherence in your essay, he would be giving you 39 marks. You would be saying, oh, he could have given me a grace mark, he could have easily given me 40. I just went one shot of 40. I could have cleared the CSS in this attempt. But believe me, there is a method to his madness. He has given you 39 because he considers that something essential is lacking in your essay. And that could be any of the things I will be discussing in these 17 video lectures. Okay, so never ever blame the examiner that he has given you 39 in CSS essay paper. Okay, moving on to the next slide. So quotations, students hear a lot of times that they should be writing various quotations in CSS essay. It lends weight to your essay. But yes, it lends weight to your essay, but how frequently you should quote in CSS essay? Okay, how many times you should, what is the ideal number that you should be quoting? How to quote? Student often quote in very haphazard way. They put on a quote in a CSS exam just like they hit a hammer to the examiner. A quote comes out all of a sudden from nowhere. Okay, it doesn't have a link. So there are various techniques to effectively embedding the quote in your CSS essay. I will be discussing it in a lecture in a very detailed manner, that even though you have crammed or a lot of quotes, and you are easily able to recall those quotes in the exam day, but if you don't write those codes, if you don't know the techniques as to how to properly embed them in your essay, believe me, those codes would do you more harm than any good. Okay, if the codes you are writing break the fluency, in when the examiner is reading your essay, examiner will penalize you, he won't be giving you any extra marks. So how to gel in your course, in your essay, what are different techniques, I will be discussing those in a separate lecture, so that even if you have memorized quotes and you write them in your essay, you can profit from them. Okay, then some common grammatical mistakes when I analyze, evaluate the write-ups of my students, I come across some different students commit different mistakes, but there are some general mistakes, some general grammatical mistakes which almost every student commits. I would say there are only some exceptions. And what are those grammatical mistakes? I'll be discussing them in a separate lecture. So this will also help you in Presian composition paper. I will tell you how to correct these mistakes. So even by just focusing at the some very general grammatical mistakes, you can improve your write up many folds. Okay, manifold, because most of the students are committing the same grammatical mistakes and they are getting penalized for it, and they even don't know it. Because in CSS essay, the examiner is supposing that if a candidate is sitting for essay paper, his grammatical uh, proficiency is at a certain level. The examiner is assuming that. But when you write your essay and you have committed a lot of grammatical mistakes in your essay, believe me, examiner won't pass you. Okay, he won't be giving you 40. Doesn't matter if your content is good, you have quoted effectively, you have made a very very good outline, but if you have made those grammatical mistakes, you won't be getting 40. Because essentially in CSS, essay consists of three basic. Examiner is judging you on three things. First, your grammatical proficiency. Secondly, your ideas. How, can you generate ideas about a topic? And lastly, how can you present those ideas in a very logical manner in CSS essay? That is what the examiner is testing you in CSS essay. Okay, so lastly, not lastly but second last, I have a lecture in which I will be answering 30 frequently asked questions. Okay, from my experience, of the students I have taught, they often ask some general questions, and they are common to all the students. Okay, they're common myths. So we will bust them effectively. We will bust those myths. Okay, in that lecture. So 30, there are frequently asked questions from the students about CSS essay, and we have a separate lecture dedicated to it. So moving on. So these will be effectively 17 video lectures, okay, which will cover how you should, with different techniques as to how you should approach your essay, okay, how you can embellish your essay, okay, apart from the basic techniques, how you can embellish, your essay, how you can make it, stand out from the rest of the lot. 95% of you are not going to, of the aspirants are not going to make it in this paper, but how you can be among those 5% who are going to make it. So these 17 lectures cover all those strategies. Okay, but on top of that, I will also be uploading some supplementary lectures. Okay, and these lectures would be about outlines and introductory paragraphs about different topics. Now these outlines and introductory paragraphs would be from past papers, and they will be about I would be bifurcating them into three sort of essays. Number one, they would be descriptive essays, which are typical causes, effect, solutions essays. Number two, argumentative essays, where you are asked to take a stance and defend it. And number three, proverbial or literary essays. So I will be sharing with you in video lectures the outlines and introductory paragraphs. But I won't just be writing outlines and introductory paragraphs. I will be telling you why I have written this sort of outline, and in what other ways you can write the outline. So effectively it would be an explanation about an outline and an introductory paragraph which I have written. And I will be, uploading a lecture on a weekly basis. So effectively, till your exam day, if you have 4 months, you will be having 16 additional lectures, which would be effectively 16 outlines and introductory paragraphs about different essay topics, and they would be from these three domains. So you can say that till the exam day, you would be profiting from this lecture series. You would be fresh, when it comes to CSS essay. You would have content in you at your disposal. You will have outlines, and not just outlines. You will know how to approach a topic area, a topic on which I have written an outline from a different perspective, because I will be discussing the different areas from which you can hit that topic. And though I will just be providing you with a sample introductory paragraph which I would be writing on that essay. I will also tell you in what different way you could have started that essay, or you could have written that intro paragraph. So, it would be a very holistic these would be very holistic sort of lectures, and they will really, really help you at the exam day, because after all the techniques which I would have taught you in the 17 lectures, they would be applied here. Okay, so these lectures would be putting into practice all the concepts which you have taught, plus they would be giving you material about different topic areas. So they would cover your knowledge base, plus they would tell you what you will learn through them, that how you can implement the strategies which you have learned in the 17 lectures. So with this, our today's lecture ends. This was all about the course outline, which we are going to cover in this lecture series. I hope you have a pretty fair idea about what we are going to discuss and how we are going to approach this, this exam, or how we are going to tackle essay exam. So I will leave you here. I will meet you in the next lecture, but this was just to make sure that you know that what is unique about this lecture series, or a way out. You know a way out, that how we would be tackling this exam. So goodbye, and see you in the next lecture. Allah Hafiz.